Cody Rhodes, the son of a WWE Hall of Famer Dusty Rhodes, entered the world of professional wrestling with an inherent expectation to succeed. However, his journey to the top of the wrestling world was anything but easy. From his early days as a jobber to his memorable gimmicks and feuds, Cody's career unfolded in a way that demonstrated his determination, versatility, and commitment to his craft. We'll take a deep dive in this documentary into Cody Rhodes' career, a retrospective and focusing on his early years, gimmicks, and memorable moments that shaped him into the superstar he is today, all the way to his final destination of becoming the true face of WWE. Now, a little flashback to his black trunks and the jobber days. Cody Rhodes made his WWE debut in 2006 as part of the developmental territory Ohio Valley Wrestling, OVW. The exact same developmental where John Cena, Batista, Randy Orton, and many others came from. He was a part of WWE's class of rising stars, which also included names like The Miz, Dolph Ziggler, and Kofi Kingston. When Cody first appeared on WWE's main roster, he was given the basic, nondescript look of a rookie wearing black trunks and performing in matches that often saw him as a jobber. At this stage, he was not the charismatic, confident star he would later become. He was simply there to put over other wrestlers, getting little to no storyline development, and this early period in Cody's career was crucial for his growth. Though he didn't have much spotlight, he gained experience by working with established stars, learning the ins and outs of the WWE machine. As a jobber, Cody had limited mic time and often found himself on the losing end of matches. However, this humble beginning gave him the opportunity to learn and refine his wrestling skills. Moving forward to when he joined Legacy, which was the formation of a new faction, his fortunes changed in 2008 when he was recruited into the stable known as Legacy, alongside Randy Orton and Ted DiBiase Jr. This was a pivotal moment in Cody's career. No longer relegated to the role of a jobber, he now had the opportunity to showcase his skills as a part of a faction with deep wrestling lineage. He was a part of a faction in which all three superstars were second or third generation, having their fathers or grandfathers already been in the business. Randy Orton, who was already a top star, served as a leader, while DiBiase and Rhodes were positioned as the young, hungry prospects who had the potential to become future stars in their own right. Legacy was a faction that focused on the idea of passing the torch and continuing the legacy of past generations. For Cody, this was a moment of rebranding. He went from being a faceless rookie to part of a group that carried the weight of Orton and DiBiase family names. Throughout his time in Legacy, Cody feuded with several top WWE stars, including the legendary DX, Triple H, and Shawn Michaels, and even faced off with his former mentor, Randy Orton, in a memorable split that helped elevate him further. Not to mention the WrestleMania match that the Legacy members had within one another, a triple threat match that was also pretty decent. One of the defining moments of Cody's time in Legacy came in 2009, when he began feuding with the iconic duo of DX. Legacy's rivalry with DX was a clash of generations, with Orton, Rhodes, and DiBiase seeking to provoke they were the future of WWE. While this feud did not result in a major title win for Cody, it marked his first significant storyline as a part of a faction. The rivalry showcased his ability to work with established stars and set the stage for his future as a singles competitor. And then, of course, the rise of dashing Cody Rhodes. Boasting in confidence, after Legacy disbanded in 2010, Cody Rhodes transitioned into a solo act with a brand new gimmick, Dashing Cody Rhodes. This was a complete departure from his previous character. Gone were the black trunks, and in their place was a more polished, self-absorbed persona. Cody now carried himself as a handsome superstar, boasting about his good looks and taking every opportunity to remind the audience of how great he thought he really looked. The gimmick was a mix of arrogance and vanity, as Cody constantly talked about his facial features and would even criticize others for their lack of attractiveness. This gimmick was a refreshing change for Cody, and it marked the first time he was given the opportunity to showcase his personality on a larger scale. He began cutting promos about how the fans should aspire to look like him, creating an aura of smugness and cockiness. He was given the chance to shine in feuds with the likes of Rey Mysterio and Daniel Bryan, both of which helped him elevate him in the eyes of the fans. One of the most memorable moments during his dashing phase came when he began his feud with Rey Mysterio, which was built around the storyline of Cody suffering a broken nose at the hands of Mysterio's 619. The injury led to a major character shift, with Cody wearing a face mask to cover the damage, his whole theme music becoming more gritty and depressed, and this in turn set up one of the most interesting parts of his gimmicks during his time, the disfigured, the hideous Cody Rhodes. In this phase, Cody started to wear a paper bag over the faces of fans in the audience, further enhancing his persona of being a better villain and a better heel than he already was or was trying to become. His obsessive need to protect his image added layers to his character and kept fans intrigued. But then again, when he came back to being a normal, dashing gimmick, the rocky road started, and the gimmicks and struggles throughout his career. His career was not without struggles, and that is something that everybody, all of his fan base, all of the pro wrestling fans are very much aware of. He was constantly given mid-card storylines with little real direction. Mr. McMahon never believed that Cody Rhodes could ever be a top guy or even the face of WWE. As a wrestler, he was incredibly talented, but it often seemed as though WWE was not sure how to utilize him to his fullest potential, despite the fact of him being a third generation, second generation superstar, and having his father, who was a legend, the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. But still, that did him no favor, no nepotism, no nothing. Nothing helped him to get an extra push or some advantages that other superstars might not have had. And he had to constantly adapt and evolve his character to stay relevant, even if that meant enduring gimmicks that were less than ideal. One of the more infamous periods in Cody's career came when he adopted the unmasked Cody Rhodes gimmick following his storyline of the hideous one. He went back to his normal gimmick, this time with a little twist of having a mustache, which was kind of odd, but still somehow he tried to make it work. And it was pretty annoying to look at him with that mustache on his face, but it was what it was. Dark times, I guess. He even started a team with none other than Damien Sandow. That team was called Team Rhodes Scholars, or whatever that means. And that went on for nearly half a year. That did him no benefit, just like any other storyline before that. During this time, he had some weeklies on Raw and SmackDown, having matches against John Cena, Randy Orton, Alberto Del Rio, Kofi Kingston, Sheamus, with all of these matches ending the same way, with him getting the 3-count pin. Then, of course, the last final point, which was also one of the lowest points of his career, the Stardust phase. After a successful run as the dashing Cody Rhodes, Cody took a significant departure from his character when he became Stardust in 2014. This was arguably one of the lowest points of his career and what many fans saw as a major creative misstep. Cody was rebranded as a cosmic character, donning a glittery, flamboyant costume with face paint and an eccentric persona. This drastic change was met with mixed reactions from fans, many of whom felt it was a step backward for the talented wrestler. Cody himself has since opened up about how deeply the Stardust gimmick affected him. In interviews, he has described how he felt creatively stifled and depressed during this period. Despite the frustration, Cody remained committed to the role. That's one thing that you have to commend about Cody Rhodes. No matter what gimmick he is given, no matter what character he is given, he tries to perform it to the state of the art, understanding that it was a part of his job to make the best out of the situation that he is given, being an absolute professional. He worked with his brother Goldust as a part of a tag team, but even with their combined star power, no pun intended, Stardust failed to resonate with the fans the way Cody had hoped. The character became a symbol of how WWE creative could sometimes box wrestlers into nothing but negative damage and stifle their true potential. And then, of course, by the end of 2016, I believe, is when he requested his release from WWE, and he was granted the release. Frustrated with the lack of creative freedom, Cody made that bold decision to leave WWE, which not many people do. Usually people just accept whatever character they have given, whatever gimmicks, whatever story, and whatever they are being given, they just accept it and move on, considering the paycheck from WWE is higher than they would get anywhere else around the world in any other promotion. But he was bold enough to take that step and leave because he knew that he was destined for greatness. He stepped away from the company and explored opportunities in the independent wrestling scene. This was a critical turning point in Cody's career. He began wrestling for various promotions including Ring of Honor, New Japan Pro Wrestling, and others, where he was able to reinvent himself once again. During this period, Cody Rhodes became one of the most sought-after independent wrestlers in the world. He shed the Stardust persona, he shed that former skin, and returned to his roots, performing as Cody Rhodes. His time on the independent circuit allowed him to develop a new level of creative freedom and begin shaping his own legacy, no pun intended, outside of WWE. His success in the independent scene eventually led to the formation of All Elite Wrestling, where Cody played a key role in his creation and success. We'll talk about that afterwards. When he joined New Japan Pro Wrestling, this was a time when he finally felt like he can allow himself to break free from the constraints of WWE's scripted persona and establish himself as a self-made star. His first major move outside WWE was to take his talents to New Japan Pro Wrestling, where he was introduced as a major player in the promotion. In NJPW, Cody was not just another wrestler, he was a man with a vision. His first major success came when he captured the NJPW IWGP United States Heavyweight Championship in 2017, defeating Juice Robinson at the G1 Special in USA event. This was a significant achievement for Cody as it marked his arrival as a serious title holder on the international stage, something he had struggled to achieve in WWE despite becoming Intercontinental Champion a couple of times and actually making that title prestigious in WWE. But still, the amount of boost that he got by winning the IWGP United States Championship was still in its infancy, but Cody helped elevate its status, defending it in high-profile matches and continuing to build his brand and raise his stock. But Cody's success in NJPW was not limited to just championships. His time in the company helped solidify his new identity as a leader of the Bullet Club, one of the most famous factions in the independent scene. A faction that had become one of the most influential in professional wrestling, he became a key figure in Bullet Club's international expansion, and his leadership helped the faction achieve new heights. His contribution to the Bullet Club and his involvement in major NJPW storylines helped cement his reputation as a top-tier talent. And then, of course, the time when Cody was making waves in NJPW, he also made a monumental decision to pursue the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. Another promotion, another world title. This was especially significant because the NWA Championship had been synonymous with his father, Dusty Rhodes, who had won it 3 times in the 1970s and 1980s. For Cody, capturing the NWA World Heavyweight Championship was not just a career achievement, it was a personal journey to reclaim his family's legacy. In 2018, Cody defeated Nick Aldis, who is the current general manager of SmackDown, at All In, the historic independent wrestling event that would later lead to the creation of AEW. This victory marked a full circle moment for Cody as he won the same title his father had held years before. The match against Nick Aldis was a standout moment in Cody's career, demonstrating that he could not only work in WWE spotlight, but also succeed on the independent scene and in historic traditions of professional wrestling. And then, of course, the birth of the American Nightmare. Cody's departure from WWE and subsequent rebranding in the independent scene allowed him to create a new persona, The American Nightmare. The persona was a stark contrast to his father's American Dream character, which was rooted in the ideals of hope, hard work, and blue-collar values, and the American Nightmare was darker, more intense, and carried an edge of rebellion. Cody embraced the legacy of his father but used it as a foundation to create something uniquely his own. With this persona, Cody adopted a much more serious and determined attitude. With his unique dark black hair and intense brooding demeanor were far from the clean-cut image he had portrayed in WWE. He portrayed a man who had suffered for his place in the wrestling world and was now ready to take what was rightfully his. This transformation was not just a change in appearance but a shift in his mindset as he began to view himself as a man on a mission to redefine pro wrestling. As the American Nightmare, Cody had several standout moments that helped define his career. In NJPW, he was involved in several 5-star matches that showcased his growth as a performer. One of the most memorable was his match against Kenny Omega at Wrestle Kingdom 12 in 2018, where the two men fought for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. While Cody did not win the title, the match surely helped him elevate, and not just him, but also Kenny Omega, both the men, and showed Cody's ability to hold his own in one of the biggest stages in wrestling. Wrestle Kingdom is basically considered the WrestleMania of Japan pro wrestling. Cody also had a fantastic feud with Kazuchika Okada, a match that went down in history as one of the best encounters in New Japan's storied history. Cody's work in NJPW was nothing short of spectacular, and it was clear that he had become a top-tier international talent, no longer defined solely by his time in WWE. And then in 2019, Cody's career took another monumental turn when he helped create All Elite Wrestling alongside Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, and Chris Jericho. AEW was conceived as an alternative to WWE, and its creation was a direct challenge to Vince McMahon's empire. Even though not as big as WWE, and come on, WWE is a juggernaut, but still, somebody even coming forward and to stand up against that juggernaut is a huge deal, something we hadn't seen in the past 3-4 decades. And Cody, a key player in AEW's formation, was instrumental in the company's rise. Him and Tony Khan together made it happen. Not only did he work as a performer, but he also assumed an executive role, contributing to the company's creative and direction and overall vision. Cody's decision to step into an executive role was a bold one. Like Triple H in WWE, he moved away from the spotlight of being an in-ring competitor and to fight for the world championships, and even promised that throughout his run in AEW, he will never challenge or fight or even try to win the AEW World Heavyweight Championship. Instead, he will help shape the future of the promotion behind the scenes. Cody played a pivotal role in producing AEW's early matches, working on everything from booking to match structure. He was committed to ensuring AEW's success and that it would provide an alternative product to WWE. One of AEW's most important moments came with its debut show, Double or Nothing, in 2019. The show was a huge success, with a packed arena and widespread acclaim from fans and critics alike. This success solidified AEW as a major player in the wrestling world, and Cody's involvement in the company was crucial to its rapid rise. But then, of course, all fairy tale stories come to an end, and in 2022, after several years of helping AEW grow, Cody made a shocking return to WWE, because that was the time when his contract ended and he decided not to re-sign. With a lot of respect and love for his former company, which he considers his baby, he left AEW and made his appearance at WrestleMania 38, shocking the entire world in April 2022, which was nothing short of historic. Cody returned as the American Nightmare, complete with his iconic theme song Kingdom by Downstate and his familiar golden, blue, red, and white attire. The reaction from the WWE Universe was electric, and it felt as though the prodigal son had finally returned home. Cody's return was poetic, as he had left WWE years ago with unfinished business, and now he was back more determined than ever. His return was immediately impactful as he began a feud with Seth Rollins at WrestleMania 38. The match between the two was one of the highlights of the night, and Cody came out victorious, proving that he was just as capable of performing at the highest level as he had been in the past outside of WWE. He redefined, rebuilt, and reclaimed his right to being a top WWE superstar to the point that Vince McMahon himself had to call him to return to WWE. One of the key moments from that match with Seth Rollins at WrestleMania 38 was when Cody did a beautiful arm drag and went on to do a cartwheel, followed up by a Stardust taunt, showing that he's back and has left that horrible character behind and has shown how far he had come. And what made that moment more significant was the pop from the crowd that he received, as well as the commentary from Corey Graves when he said, "That is shedding skin. That is shrugging off the past. That's letting everybody know that he has returned and better than ever. A fresh start, if you would." Then, of course, the night after WrestleMania on Monday Night Raw, Cody set his sights clear as to what his actual target is and who he needs to conquer, which was the Tribal Chief. He also name-dropped some other WWE superstars. However, his feud with Seth Rollins continued for another 2 more matches. It was a 3-chapter storyline, which was honestly an incredible storyline. They produced compelling promos, and even the matches were top quality, top notch. Every single one of them. Especially the one at Hell in a Cell. What he did that day was absolutely so respectable. Like, hats off to his performance, hats off to the fact that he even decided to compete in the match without letting WWE officials or anybody in the backstage to even be aware of the fact that he had torn his pectoral muscle, and instead of resting and letting it heal and going on his road to recovery, he decided to give the fans what they had paid for, to give their money worth, and to put on a match that all of us will remember for a very long time. I still remember how the loudest Chicago crowd went hush when he took off his robe, and everybody could see the bruise and the absolute torn muscle, just how visibly ruptured it looked, and simply a very painful sight to see. The crowd's silence was deafening that day the second he took off that robe, and it was just hard to believe. Most of the people online and all around the world were thinking that it's just makeup, because the commentators in WWE were already talking about how Cody is going into the Hell in a Cell match under 100%. So they all thought that it's probably a work, probably is part of the storyline just to make Cody look really strong. But gradually, as the match went on and people started to notice that if it was really makeup, it would just start wearing off or rubbing off or start, dissociating with the sweat and whatever. But instead, it just kept getting worse. Around the edges got more purplish or more reddish. And that's when people realized, okay, shit, Cody really is hurt. And the fact that he's still standing his ground and completing the match, like the entire match, was an absolute class act and a literal Iron Man performance from Cody. I feel like that is the day when Cody really, really cemented his position as the top babyface of the company, and he got so over from that point onwards. Of course, he had to take a few months off. It's a pectoral injury, a torn pec. That type of injury is not a joke at all, let alone the fact that he competed and completed the entire full-length match, a Hell in a Cell match, which only delayed his return to WWE and to TV. So everybody was wondering if he'd even be able to make it back to the Royal Rumble, to be able to get to WrestleMania, or to be able to fight for the title, which he has been planning for such a long time. But he did. That Hell in a Cell match with Seth was the last match that he fought in 2022. So a total of 3 matches, a couple of great promos, and then he was gone off TV for a few months and returned in January 2023. That's when I feel that's when Cody's return actually kicked off. Those 3 matches with Seth were great, but felt like a pre-show to a huge event that's about to begin. And that's what happened in January when he returned to Royal Rumble at number 30 spot and went on to win it. First Rumble that he competed in since his return, and he just straight up won. And of course, we all knew who he was going to choose, none other than Roman Reigns, to finish the story and to win the Universal and the WWE Championship for his mother, for his father, for his family, for the Rhodes family, for the Rhodes name, to be the first ever Rhodes to bring the World Heavyweight Championship home. And that's how we kicked off a new arc to the Bloodline Saga. The same Bloodline Saga that helped revive WWE. Just a little self-plug here, by the way. We've made a video on that separately on our channel, so just make sure to check that out as well. Coming back, saying that only Roman or only Sami Zayn or only the Usos or Solo or Paul Heyman are responsible for this revival or for this spectacle of a storyline that WWE had produced in the form of Bloodline is going to be unfair, because every single character in this storyline was just as integral as the other. But of course, every single story has main characters, the characters that are the most pivotal to the story. And in my opinion, Roman was just as important as Cody and vice versa. Both of those superstars complemented each other. The Bloodline Saga really needed a hero to step up to the villain who had literally reached the status of Thanos of WWE. Basically unbeatable, undefeatable, untouchable at that point. That guy was smashing, stacking, pinning every single person that came in front of him, whether it was Cena, Edge, Daniel Bryan, Cesaro, Matt Riddle, Randy Orton, LA Knight. Anybody and everybody who would stand up against him would end up falling. And so we needed somebody to show that no, he is human after all. He is a man that could be beaten, that could be pinned. He can lose those world championships. And the only man that we could think of after all people who failed was Cody Rhodes. That's the only one that we could think of, and that happened because of the way he rebranded himself, the way he rebuilt himself, the matches he gave outside of WWE, and even the first 3 matches at PLE that he gave with Seth Rollins. That gladiator-like performance at Hell in a Cell, and then of course winning the Royal Rumble first year back and going to headline the WrestleMania. All of these elements helped us believe that finally we found somebody who could defeat Roman Reigns. However, unfortunately, that did not happen at WrestleMania 39 when Solo Sikoa interfered, hitting Cody with the spike, followed by a spear from Roman Reigns, and crushing Cody's spirits and his dreams by pinning him 1, 2, 3, leaving him in tears in the middle of the ring. However, we all knew that the story is far from over. Instead, it only added a greater layer of surprise and mystery as to what exactly is going to happen now. Like, who is going to win? Every single year, we would think that, okay, maybe Lesnar would defeat him. Okay, now he's in a triple threat match with Edge and Daniel Bryan. Maybe now he'll be defeated. But no, every single year, he proved us wrong, including the year when we finally found our top babyface, and even he was unable to defeat him. And honestly, no matter how many people would say that they were bored of that title reign, they were just as much enjoying it at the same time, because they were loving the fact that there was an element of surprise and there was an element of what if he would lose, right? In every single match, whilst also having the feeling that, you know what? No, he won't be defeated. I mean, look at it. Look at his record. 3 years, 4 years, nobody was able to defeat him. So there was this mixed feeling about Roman's title reign, which is the main reason why people actually accepted it to be as long as it was. And it's not like Roman's title reign was stale. by any means. He actually delivered incredible promos week in and week out. Also, 5-star classic matches every single time that he stepped foot in the ring. And so from that point onward, after the defeat, Cody went on his road to redemption, which somewhat felt like a mirrored storyline to John Cena's redemption arc, which happened or began after his defeat to Rock at WrestleMania 28. It felt so parallel. There were so many parallels that you could find, whether it was John Cena sitting in regret and remorse after his defeat to Rock, the same way Cody was sitting in the middle of the ring, or the way Cena went on to win the Rumble that year, just like Cody went on to win the Rumble again the following year. Or whether it was John Cena having a storyline with Brock Lesnar just to get himself put over as the guy who is on his way to redemption, which is exactly what happened with Cody the following year when he had a couple of matches with Brock Lesnar, which were actually so fun, much more exciting than I actually expected them to be. So it was just really fun. We could see the similarities, we could feel that WWE is recycling a storyline, but it was actually fun. It had its own similarities and its own differences at the same time. And finally, we were all getting what we were yearning for the past 6-7 years, a long-term storyline, which under Vince McMahon's reign was severely lacking. And so I'd like to credit this to Cody and Roman, both of them, because without both of these superstars, this storyline, this anticipation, this excitement would not even be there. And so Cody went on to have a redemption arc. He even went on to win the tag team championships with Jey Uso. He also participated in a War Games match, which was also one of the most memorable ones ever, when Randy Orton returned after a year and a half. And of course, we saw the return of the voice of the voiceless, the best in the world, CM Punk, the man that we never thought we would see. So there's so many incredible, unforgettable moments that Cody was a part of, where you feel like Cody was the catalyst for them, even though they're not directly related, but you just see him being a part of these moments. You remember that this guy gave us one of the most exciting and unforgettable years in pro wrestling history. Like, he was there. Whether it was his own return at WrestleMania 38 or his return from injury on Royal Rumble 2023, winning that Rumble, that giving us exciting and passionate promos week in and week out, his match with Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 38, of course then his matches with Brock Lesnar, then winning the tag team championship with Jey Uso, and then going on to headline Survivor Series, and then having Randy Orton return for him, and of course then the end with CM Punk, then getting his hand raised on a Monday Night Raw by John Cena, which felt like a passing the torch moment. Just so many incredible moments. It just felt like a roller coaster the whole year. You cannot give more credit to anybody other than Cody Rhodes, and of course the creative team. So finally 2023 came to an end, which was followed by 2024's road to WrestleMania being kicked off, which felt even more exciting than it was the last year, with CM Punk in the mix, Seth Rollins in the mix, and everybody just thinking about, okay, now where are we gonna go? We have so much more talent. We got Randy Orton on the roster. We probably have John Cena showing up too. What is going to happen? And so we saw Cody go on and win the Royal Rumble one more time, which just solidified and cemented his status as the babyface of WWE. I feel like even Cena was not pushed as hard as Cody Rhodes was. Of course, I remember the whole Super Cena era, when the PG era and him winning the championships back and forth. Still, this just felt different and more substantial, with Cody becoming the first superstar since Stone Cold to win the Royal Rumble match back-to-back years, 2023 as well as 2024. From here onwards, everybody thought that, okay, now the path is linear. He would just choose Roman Reigns as he was pointing at him after winning the Rumble match. And we would have another few weeks of Roman and Cody going back and forth, and finally the match at WrestleMania 40 with Cody winning. But we were wrong. We were all wrong. Instead, fell into a web of more interesting storylines and more possibilities than we would have actually imagined to be in. Triple H really cooked and overbooked the shit out of the road to WrestleMania 40, as well as the WrestleMania 40 main event itself. But of course, nobody would complain because it was just so well executed. And it all started on that episode of SmackDown when Cody dropped the bombshell that he will not be facing Roman Reigns for the title at WrestleMania, and then went on to introduce The Rock when everybody was shook as to why Dwayne Johnson is all of a sudden involved in the main event storyline. Everybody around the world started the whole movement of We Want Cody and going against The Rock, forcing WWE to improvise and realize that they're making a huge mistake with getting The Rock involved, because it was looking too evident that The Rock was just being selfish, just like he always is, because of his huge ego and injecting himself into the main event scene just because he can, since he is now a part of the TKO board, basically the boss of all the bosses in WWE, a literal final boss. And that, of course, felt unjust to everybody all around the world, which is why it led to the creation of the movement of We Want Cody, forcing The Rock to turn heel. But honestly, I'm so glad that everything went the way it went, because if The Rock had not involved himself into this whole storyline, we would have just had a few weeks or probably a month of boring, same repetitive storytelling and same repetitive promos from both Roman and Cody until we would reach the main event. But this, The Rock's return itself, added so many elements to the storyline, with him returning every single week, giving us promo after promo, which was both hilarious and engaging. Like, you can't deny the fact that as a pro wrestling fan, every single person all around the world was tuning in to Raw and SmackDown just to see what is going to happen in the Bloodline saga. Who is going to do what? Cody's going to choose who, with Seth being involved in the whole story. And then it all leading up to a 2-night main event with all 4 superstars being a part of both nights by setting up a huge tag team match between Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins, going head-to-head with Rock and Roman Reigns, with the stipulation that if Cody and Seth lose, the match between Cody and Roman the next night would be Bloodline rules. Then, of course, a few weeks prior to the match, with Rock delivering one of the greatest heel promos, making Cody bleed, spitting on the ground that he would lay on, involving his mother, then doing a whole Rock concert. God, that guy literally made this storyline 10 times more interesting and exciting than it already was. And of course, we reached WrestleMania 40, the final stage, the final destination of this whole saga that we've been talking about, all culminated into that one night at WrestleMania 40, with Rock and Roman Reigns winning at night 1, putting Cody against all odds. And that is something we all expected. But what we didn't expect is the overbooking that happened at WrestleMania 40's Night 2 main event. The whole match was exhilarating enough, but of course, moments like Jey Uso spearing his brother Jimmy through the table outside that stage, and Solo being involved again, trying to repeat and replicate the ending of last year's WrestleMania, but then John Cena out of nowhere coming out to destroy Solo Sikoa, putting him through the table, as well as putting Roman Reigns on the ground, and then The Rock's music hitting, then having The Rock and Cena face off for the 3rd time ever, teasing a possible future 3rd chapter between the two superstars, and then Cena getting planted with the rock bottom, then the Shield music being played, and all of us thinking that what, did Dean Ambrose actually return? Is Dean and Seth really coming out? But why the Shield? Only for us to realize that it was just mind games being played by Seth, wearing the whole Shield outfit, but only to get speared by Roman Reigns. We all thought that, okay, now what? Just as we were thinking, this happened. Undertaker coming out to chokeslam the shit out of Rock and just leaving, like the ghost of WrestleMania, returning to right the wrongs and to stand against injustice. And honestly, it made so much more sense than it would for Stone Cold to return, despite the fact that he has a lot of history with The Rock. But this made sense because this was all about fighting the bloodline. And this would stretch way back to when Undertaker was defeated by Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 33. So everything just made sense. And then finally, Cody Rhodes hitting Roman Reigns with the trifecta of Crossroads and pinning him 1, 2, 3 to finally end that nearly 4-year-long title reign and bring the title to the Rhodes name. That moment in time felt so surreal, and it just felt right. Everything felt right. The whole WrestleMania felt like a movie, more like an Avengers Endgame type. Cody Rhodes' journey from his early days as a jobber to becoming the face of WWE is nothing short of remarkable. With his current title reign standing at 249 days, Cody has solidified his place in WWE history, even as some critics might argue, and of course the pro wrestling fans who can never be satisfied these days, where they're all going around and saying that his character has become stale or boring and the title reign is just not as exciting as Roman Reigns. I don't even know what to say to you guys, because these are the same people who were complaining about Roman Reigns' title reign being boring when he was keeping it for the past 3 years, and they wanted Cody so bad, and now when they have it, they're doing the same thing. But anyways, it can't change the fact that he's doing an incredible job. The matches are never lackluster, and it's only a matter of time before we get another chapter of Cody and the Bloodline as we are nearing another road to WrestleMania. Despite the little hate that he's getting around these days, his undeniable connection with the crowd and the massive fan base that he has built over the years proves that he remains one of the most over performers in the company. While he may not have reached the same mainstream level of fame as someone like John Cena or The Rock, still his journey is a testament to perseverance, reinvention, and a relentless drive to prove himself, and as he continues to carry the mantle. The story of Cody Rhodes is far from over, and there's no denying that Cody has finally achieved what he had set out to do: become the true face of WWE. Work was put into this video, so if you enjoyed, make sure to like.